Welcome to the Einstein Revolution. This is a course about the manifold connections of physics to the rest of the world in the 20th century and early 21st century, with Albert Einstein as our guide. It's not a biography of Einstein, though some very good biographies do exist, and I'll refer you to them. Instead, it's about the connections that exist between physics and the rest of the world. How widespread is the mark of Einstein? Well, we think we know Hermann Hupfeld's 1931 As Time Goes By, that most famous song of the most famous scene of the most famous film, Casablanca.
You must remember this, a kiss is just a kiss, a sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by.
The reason that I want to show you this up front is that there's something missing. In Casablanca, Dooley Wilson, Sam, did not sing the first of Hermann Hupfeld's verses. Here is Binny Hale singing As Time Goes By in 1932 with the first verse.
This day and age we're living in gives cause for apprehension. With speed, the new invention, and things like third dimension. Yet we get a trifle weary with Mr. Einstein's theory. So we must get down to earth at times, relax, relieve the tension. You must remember this.
But even Hale and others like Rudy Vallee changed the lyrics ever so slightly when they sung that first verse. The fourth dimension was simply too unfamiliar, and they morphed it into the third dimension. Why it was so unfamiliar, why it was so shocking to people, is one of the great subjects of the first big part of this course. We'll be looking, over the extent of this online course, at three large-scale components of the relationship of Einstein's physics to the rest of the world. First, there are the relativities, special theory and the general theory. We'll look at how they linked to technologies of the day, to the battles over the ether, but also at the relationship of art and science and how the art world of everything from painting and sculpture to the development of architecture all drew on ideas of space and time. We'll look at the relationship of politics and science, both coming into Einstein's life and emerging from his interventions in the world. We'll look at the relationship of philosophy and science, philosophy coming into the relativity theories and philosophy coming out of the relativities. Second, we'll look at nuclear weapons. Einstein was involved to a quite limited extent in the development of nuclear weapons, but in two small but very important ways. First, his ideas of relativity, which led him to E equals mc squared, was used in the discovery and understanding of nuclear fission. And second, Einstein helped warn President Roosevelt that nuclear weapons might be in the offing and that the Nazis might be on the track towards them. We'll look at the Nazi work on the atomic bomb, we'll look at the American project, we'll understand how radically the intervention of nuclear weapons in the world of physics changed the contract between science and society. Third, we'll look at quantum mechanics. Einstein often remarked that he spent much more time thinking about quantum theory than he did about both relativity theories combined. We'll be interested in the theory of quantum mechanics, the philosophy of quantum mechanics, how it related to relativity theory, the technology of application of quantum mechanics, the development and understanding, for instance, of the transistor, and now its innermost strangeness, the part of quantum theory that Einstein most objected to, namely the entanglement of particles, even when they were very distantly separated. That entanglement has itself become the basis for a radical new form of machine. In each of these three sections of the course, the relativities, nuclear weapons, quantum physics, we come back to Einstein and use him as a crossing point for culture, science, and the material world. In each instance, we'll start with Einstein and come up toward the present and even the future. What's required for this course is no particular knowledge in physics or mathematics. We will use a bit of algebra. What I really need is for you not to be totally panicked by a plus b over 2. But everyone should find in different ways familiarity with different parts of the course. Some parts will be easier than others. There's going to be people who are more comfortable with the art or philosophy or politics or physics than others, but altogether we'll see how these pieces of the world converged or crossed at the Einsteinian interchange. There'll be an interactive component of the course in each of the lessons to follow. Sometimes there'll be multiple choice questions, especially when it's introducing new ideas of physics. Sometimes there'll be interpretive questions addressed through very short essays, like a paragraph. And sometimes there'll be collective activities, the construction of debates, for instance, or a wiki page, or the assembly of an exhibit out of different images that people gather and put together to form a kind of virtual museum. This course is itself a kind of grand experiment to explore in the most interdisciplinary way possible how things and thoughts connected. It's a way of probing that strange and fascinating intersection of metaphysics and machines that make up some of the most riveting parts of our world today.